The Substance is pure genius, from its shocking visuals to its deeper things about society and fame. Let's discuss this 5-time Oscar-nominated horror film. I think it's going to be hard for me to express how much I actually love The Substance. I've seen it 2 times now, and both times I was literally in awe of how little conversation I've heard about this movie. Because I feel like everybody should be talking about it. From the very start of the film, we know that it's about to be something crazy. When I saw the egg, I was like, oh, they out here wilding. This is about to be some splicing type of stuff. We doing clones. Like, that's what I was expecting. I mean, essentially, we kind of did get that, but just in a different form. And I truly could not have expected that they would have gone the way that it did. Now, at its core, The Substance is a fall from grace type of film. And of course, that's not something that's new. We've seen that so many times. Young woman in Hollywood does something that Hollywood finds deplorable. She gets older, and everyone drops her like a bad habit. I never understood that phrase, because it's actually incredibly hard to drop a bad habit, but whatever. But you know what I mean, we've seen this story before. Once you hit 35, you might as well be dead if you're a woman in Hollywood, or really if you're a woman in general. That being said, I really did appreciate this fresh take on the fall from grace story. This film was very satisfying, both visually and when it comes to storytelling. Hey y'all, it's Nate, and I just got back from pumping it up. If you haven't seen this movie, you haven't seen the movie, that's not gonna make any sense. That's not gonna make any sense to you. This video will contain spoilers for the 2024 film The Substance, which I highly recommend that you see. So if you haven't seen it yet and you do not want spoilers, save this video and come back after you do. You are about to hear my thoughts on The Substance, but of course I want to hear yours, so feel free to drop your thoughts below if you do want to participate in the conversation. And give this video a like before you go, or you're gonna have to inject a strange substance into your body to get a version of your younger self. If you want to keep the conversation going after this video, feel free to head on over to my Discord server. It is a place for us to chit chat outside of YouTube, and it's free, so why not? The link is in the description box. So I love how this film both started and ended on Hollywood Boulevard. Those shiny gold, or in this case pink, stars are beloved by celebrities and us commoners alike. Growing up in LA, and more specifically living in Hollywood at times throughout my childhood, I am all too familiar with those stars. And I know that so many people specifically come to LA to see those stars. And I'm here to tell you, as a native, they're not that damn impressive. But the way that it's depicted in the film is exactly how it is. Someone gets a new star, everybody shows up, everybody's doting on them, they love them, the star is nice and shiny, generations grow old, new generations are born, and that celebrity kind of loses a little bit of that status, unless you're somebody like Michael Jackson, and soon it becomes just another star on the ground that people walk over with their dirty shoes every single day. And I love how they depicted this by showing people who were walking by the star going, oh my god, I love her, and then as you know, some time passed, they go, isn't she that one girl that was in that one thing? I don't know what it was.
Remember her? She was in that movie,
Like, they know that she's somebody, but they can't quite place her. Then the next thing you know, your star is cracking it and somebody is smearing ketchup all over your name. Of course, here, that star represents both the star, of course, but also represents Elizabeth, because she was a once beloved celebrity, but she is now also old, cracked, and kind of smeared, and so is her show, which is why they're looking to replace her in the first place. Her show is dull, it's 90s, it's colorless, just like her and her relevancy. If you watch any of my other deep dives on films, you probably know that I love a good juxtaposition. I just love seeing that duality between night and day, or black or white, or whatever it's gonna be. And there's a lot of juxtaposition in this film, from the obvious old and young with Elizabeth and Sue, to the day and night of Elizabeth's aesthetic versus Sue's more TikTok, I'm channeling the 80s but I'm not in the 80s type of aesthetic, which is actually another thing that I want to talk about with this film. I don't quite know which time period this film takes place in, which I actually think really does work. There are some films where they try to merge the time periods and you're like, what even am I watching? 2021? Is this 1921? Like, what year am I in? But for The Substance, it really does work. It's very clear that Elizabeth's show took place in the 80s because it has a very clear 80s vibe and aesthetic. But it's also clear that years have passed since she was at the height of her career, but that her apartment is also stuck in the 80s. Even her vacuum cleaner is very old school. You know, it's not bagless. It very clearly has a bag, which makes it feel like the movie is set in the 80s, but we know that it's not, because again, her career was probably booming in the 80s, and now we're probably looking at least early 2000s, mid 2000s. We might be even looking at now, although I can't remember if I remember seeing any cell phones. Nevertheless, it's clear that there's some type of time change that has happened. Sue is still channeling the 80s, but she doesn't exist in the 80s. There's also a huge juxtaposition between Elizabeth's life and Sue's life. Elizabeth is miserable, and in her eyes, she has nothing to live for. She's also, in the beginning, experiencing all the negatives of the substance. She wastes her entire week sitting on the chair watching terrible infomercials and being forced to look at the billboard of her protege. Meanwhile, when Sue has her week, she is out here living her life. She's going out, she's carefree, she's young, she's unbothered, she's moisturized, she's drinking her water, and her ass is tight. I think it's very hard, just as a human, to not feel completely bad for Elizabeth. She had so much fame in her youth, and now she feels, and rightfully so probably, pretty abandoned, not only by Hollywood, but also by loved ones, because she doesn't appear to have any friends or family. Everybody has completely forgotten about her. And I wish she did have some friends or family. They would have held her hand with a napkin in between when they said this. If you opt in to try an experimental drug and you have to go through a crawl space, maybe you shouldn't be trying it because it's giving you're buying crack in a dark alley. But clearly she didn't have anybody in her life like that. And in the end, you can't really blame anybody but Elizabeth for what happens to Elizabeth. There are so many red flags that the girl just chose to blatantly ignore. I already mentioned that crawl space, but there's also this mysterious voice on the phone.
Write this down. 35 North Byron Alley.
When I first watched it, I was like, oh my gosh, she's about to do a drug deal. Like, this is 100% a drug deal about to go wrong. And I guess I wasn't wrong about that. Literally, she's calling her plug. Like, don't know who you are, never seen you, never gonna meet you. You dropped off the goods, and I used the goods, and when I need to re-up, I hit you up again. That is a plug. And then she has this neon yellow green, kind of like the top that I'm wearing, fluid that she has to inject into her body, which should have set off more alarm bells, because if you have to inject something into your body that looks like toxic waste from the LA sewer, maybe that shouldn't be going to your body. That's just me though. And how many times did that mysterious voice on the other end of the phone have to remind her that there is no she and me, you are one.
There is no she and you. You are one. Respect the balance, and you won't have any more inconveniences.
By the time she had that one finger that looked like it belonged to the crypt keeper, she should have known that something is awry here. And they had the nerve to try to wash it away like, girl, no, that's just your finger. That's just your finger now. Even if I would have gotten up to this point, which I would not have, but even if I would have gotten all the way up to this point, surely then I would have been like, this is where I end this thing. Clearly this is not working out for me. My finger is about to fall off. Maybe she didn't think she needed that finger. And then there is also the very real in your face foreshadowing of the nurse. We see him as a really old man, and this is after the finger thing happened, so we know the only reason he got that old is from abusing the substance. This is just one example of gluttony, which I think is a theme that we see throughout the film. Elizabeth can't even find the strength within herself to stop when things are at their worst.
Would you like to stop?
Stop.
You are the Matrix. If you are not satisfied, you can put an end to the experience.
I can't stop.
But I guess at that point, she's really in too deep. There's too much body to her actual body and actual existence, her actual life now. So she has to be Sue. She has no other choice. And in that sense, it is very much like a drug. When you first try a drug, oh sure, you're having fun with it. Maybe it's experimental. But eventually your body is going to become dependent on it. And now it's not a want, but a need. You need it literally to survive. And that's why people who quit cold turkey can sometimes literally die from withdrawal because your body goes into shock because you're not getting this thing that you're used to. In that way, Elizabeth can't even live her life anymore because Sue has taken all of her youth, but literally has taken her life force from her. It's no longer a nice to have. She became a shell of her former self. And all of a sudden, her former self now doesn't seem that bad. And of course, that's a message for the audience, is that it's never really as bad as you think it is when it comes to beauty, youth, and fame. So many times throughout this film, I found myself just being like, this is such a good deal. Granted, I would never do anything like this, but if you have decided to do this, what a great opportunity to just make the switch every week. Nothing will go wrong so long as you follow the rules. It's so easy, and she really could have had it all. You get to be your youthful self, even more beautiful. 7 days on, 7 days off. You revived your career, you're making bank again, and you're doing it times 10. You won, girl. And even more so, I was like, okay, Sue could have that life, and Elizabeth would get her life back, because Elizabeth, like I said, has been in the slump. She doesn't really feel like she's worthy because everybody in her life has abandoned her. But in actuality, it really was not that bad. So she could have had the Sue life and revived her life. She could have had a man. I really wish she would have went out with him instead of having her crash out Joker moment. I really was pulling for Elizabeth, and I wanted her to get out of this slump that she had been in for so much of the end of her career. I just wanted her to start living again. And I was sad for her that she didn't see that, and that, again, this theme of gluttony with Sue just wanting it all. Oh, just one more day. Oh, I'm just going out tonight. I'll be back. Just wait for me. Oh, I have a photo shoot today. Can't miss that opportunity. Both parts of Elizabeth, because again, they are one. She's just a gluttonous type of person, and so she wanted it all, and she went to the extreme to have it all, even in the end. And Sue couldn't give two fucks about Elizabeth. I really did have hope for them, though. I spent a lot of time when Elizabeth was just laying on the bathroom floor that first go round, being like, why don't she go put her in the bed, or like give her a pillow and a blanket or something so she not just laying on the cold hard floor. So when she finally did bring her something to prop her head up, I was like, oh, okay. We saw a very small glimpse of compassion come from Sue. But I don't think it was compassion in a sense of like, I love you and care about you. It was compassion of like, I feel bad for you because you are beneath me. Like you are gum on the bottom of my workout shoes. Like it was that type of, if you even want to call that compassion. She just felt, ultimately just felt bad for her. Like in a disgusting kind of way. And even when she builds that room to keep her out of the main house during the switch, it's still not to get her comfort. It's literally so that she doesn't have to look at her disgusting face and body the whole time. Sue is everything that Elizabeth used to be and more. She was slowly becoming a sex symbol, an icon, and she even had that very youthful laugh.
People love you! They adore you!
But she was obviously very troubled as well. I mean, she doesn't really exist. She's not her own person outside of Elizabeth. But she starts to feel like she does, because why wouldn't she feel like she's a person when she's getting to live life for 7+ days? And it's an amazing life. And eventually, because everything in her life was so great, 7 days just wasn't enough. There's some type of Ring reference in there, but I don't know what it is. When she finally broke down and realized that she didn't want to keep making the switch, I was like, oh no.
Tell me how to do it. I need to stabilize myself right now.
You simply have to switch.
Excuse me?
The switch reboots the fluid secretion process so you can continue to enjoy the experience.
No.
But I love how that scene was depicted. It was just a visceral hate for Elizabeth. And she so quickly moves on and forgets about her, and she doesn't even realize that she's running out of what I assume to be spinal fluid that keeps her going, the stabilizer. She almost seems shocked that she can't survive on her own. Like she literally forgets that they are one. Now let's briefly talk about the substance as a company. I do think that there is something to the way that it is packaged. The simplicity really stood out to me because we currently live in a society that is very obsessed with aesthetics, myself included to a certain degree. The clean packaging, it's black with just this symbol on it, and that said a lot to me personally. I have a marketing degree, and I remember in college when we were learning about businesses and marketing and logos and brand names, I read a study that was basically about McDonald's, Nike, and probably someone else that I'm forgetting. And when you think of McDonald's, you think about those golden arches. Or when you think of Nike, you think about the check mark. You can show those symbols alone, no brand name needed, and people are going to know exactly what that is, pretty much to anyone in the world. And that's how good they are at having just that symbol represent everything. So for me, whenever I see a logo that's a standalone, I'm always thinking, oh, this company wants me to know that they got it like that. Like they're such a big, well-known brand that they don't even need a name. They just need a logo. They're going for that McDonald's or Nike effect. They want you to trust them and feel like they're so trustworthy that you don't even know what their name is. Or not even that you don't know, but that it doesn't matter what their name is because that logo is a standalone. And it makes them feel established because, again, those brands are so established that you don't need the name. That's kind of a side, but that is something that I always think about whenever I see a logo standing by itself. And so when I see the substance just being this little logo, which I think is probably the egg yolk split into two when I really look at it and think about it, but it doesn't need a name. You don't need to know the name of the company. You don't need to know the name of the man on the other side of the phone. This is the logo. You know exactly what it means and you know exactly what you're getting. And in the beginning, you're building trust with that because things are so great until they're not, of course. But yeah, even the way that it's packaged is aesthetically pleasing. Everything labeled in its own unique bag. It's an experience. I can 100% see some famous TikToker being like, oh my God, guys, just got my substance in the mail. Let's unbox it. Like that is the vibe that gives. Can you imagine though? It would totally happen. I'm going to do the 7-day trial on the substance. Oh my God. Please don't ever let us get to that place in society. This movie is labeled a horror, which I guess technically it is, but not in the jump scare kind of way. I personally think it's more of a psychological thriller or a psychological horror. But I can confidently say one thing that I was not prepared for is how graphic the switching would be. I really thought it could not get much worse after Elizabeth literally birthed Sue through her back, but somehow they upped it and found a way to make it progressively worse. When they had her shoving a needle into Elizabeth's pus-filled back, this is the literal face I made. I was like, what are we doing? That was just completely nasty. I did, ugh. When her leg got stiff and she had to physically like pry it open. Why did we need that? And the sound, ugh. Whoever did the what is it called? The Foley artist on that, whoever the Foley artist was on that was top notch. And then we had to watch her do ungodly things to this chicken. Which, what did that chicken do to deserve that? And I cannot skip over Sue absolutely kicking Elizabeth's ass for trying to terminate her. She smashed her head against that mirror. I was like, God, like she's kicking her ass like she owe her money or something. I guess she owes her life, so maybe it was justified. I don't know. And then that scene of Sue pulling her teeth out one by one and the fingernail coming off. Oof, so there are definitely some moments in this movie that made my skin crawl. As for the cinematography, I have a few call outs. I love when Sue was new and experiencing things for the first time and, you know, still innocent, and they did this scene where she fell on the bed and all the sheets were pink and bright and colorful, and then they reintroduced that same scene after Sue had got, you know, a little bit evil and the sheets were black, still silky but black, and she's doing the same thing, like loving it. I thought that was to signify the fact that she had gone evil, which it probably is, because it's the same exact shot, so obviously there's some duality there. Subtle but very effective. I also completely love the shot of Elizabeth's shower after she had her breakdown, and you just see this shower go up forever. No walls, no doors, nothing. It's just an endless shower. Terrifying, one, because I do think I'm a little bit claustrophobic, so for me that was like, ugh, scary. And of course that was a metaphor for how trapped Elizabeth felt. In addition to the disturbing and the beautiful, some things were just also flat out confusing. Like, why was there a chicken wing coming out of her belly button? I don't know. We never really got an explanation for that. I'm gonna just let it ride. Now, I asked this next question when I covered poor things, and I fear I must ask it again. Are men okay? All of the men in this movie were terrible, except for maybe Fred. The actor who played the slimy Hollywood manager played that role to a T, so much so that I can't stand that man. He looks slimy and grimy. He can't be bothered to pay attention to a woman unless she's barely legal and hot.
My assistant,
Isabella?
Who has time to say that?
And he's just overall a gross person. The scene where he's eating and the food's going everywhere, another representation of gluttony in the film, by the way, it just made me feel physically uncomfortable. The sheer disregard for manners and decorum at the table. And then he's waving a shrimp around, just disgusting. There's also the insufferable neighbor, and of course Motorcycle Man. And like I said, the only somewhat redeeming man in this movie is Fred. He's a little weird, he's a little nerdy and corny, but he's not terrible like these other men.
Too bad her boobs aren't in the middle of her face instead of that nose. Next!
And like I said, I wish Elizabeth would have gone out with him. She was looking beautiful except for that finger, but I think he would have been a pretty decent guy. I do believe that where this film probably is gonna lose a lot of people or lost a lot of people is the end when we get the monster version of Eliza Sue. Yeah, it's very avant-garde, but if you know anything from my other film reviews, I love avant-garde. The Eliza Sue Monstar is so delulu and even glues a picture of the original Elizabeth onto her face. Now keep that in mind. The Elizabeth that wanted to change is now being used by the monster Eliza Sue as what's beautiful. We just came back full circle to love yourself. And I'm gonna be honest, with this ending, I think they were just in a silly, goofy mood. I think by the time this movie had ended, they got the point across. Love yourself. Stop trying to chase this youth, fame, this glow, whatever it is you're trying to chase, just stop it. I think they had gotten the point across, and they were just like, why don't we just go crazy at the end? And that's what they did. It could have also been, this is how ridiculous all of you look chasing these beauty standards. It could have also been that, because watching her spin around as blood just pours out, you gotta admit that's very Tarantino. I was like, is this a Tarantino film that I just got transported into? Overall though, even with that I'm still kind of like, I'm not sure if I liked it, the ending specifically. I did like the film as a whole. I wonder if they shot an alternative ending. I'd be very curious about that. And like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, they bring back the star at the end, which is amazing but also very telling. Even after all of that, literally dying, she gave up her life for this, sacrificing her very real life. She still just wanted to be adored and wanted to be a star. And I guess in the end, that's what she got. And I could totally be reading way too much into this, because I tend to do that when I do somewhat deeper dives on films like this. But at the end, when that guy came through and cleaned the sidewalk and made her shiny again after she died on it, to me, that symbolized kind of what happens to many people who are chasing fame or chasing recognition, and they don't end up getting it until they pass away. A few years back, I went to a Vincent van Gogh exhibit, which I highly recommend going to this exhibit if it comes to a city near you. It's absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. It's an immersive experience, and it's so pretty. Like, bring tears to your eyes type of art. But yeah, they talk about his life and the fact that no one appreciated his art while he was living. And that makes me really sad whenever I think about it, because he just wanted to be known. And, you know, he struggled with his own demons. I think he had some mental health issues, but it's like, why does it take sometimes someone passing away for us to really acknowledge and recognize them? So that kind of makes me sad, but I do think that could have been a message here as well. From the moment I first saw this movie, I knew that I was going to talk about it. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but that happens a few times. It's with movies like Poor Things, Saltburn. First time I saw those, I was like, oh, I'm absolutely talking about this, because this is a film that needs to be spoken about. Like, I don't care who watches it or not, I need to talk about it. And that's exactly how I felt when I saw The Substance. I feel like I'm having a hard time finding out how many Oscars they actually won. I think they may have gotten one for costume design, which I think they should have gotten more. Demi Moore absolutely should have received an Oscar for her performance in this. And I don't know the actress name who plays Sue, but she should have as well. Let me just look up her name. I don't want to say Demi Moore's name and not say her name. Yeah, Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, they should have gotten an Oscar. And you know what? Go ahead and give one to Dennis Quaid too, because he played a disgusting character that I hate. But let me know your thoughts on The Substance. I'll see y'all later. Until then, keep on pumping it up. Bye. The Substance Cast. I think I recorded everything. I really did appreciate the fresh. Should I leave that in? Let me shoot one of my regular ones too. And give this video a like before you go, or you're gonna turn into a blob and have to walk across the ground. I should say something. I think I should start doing that, making it creative, you know? Kind of like what Swindle does when we do not trust you. Please, I don't want to say substance. I am starving. I should have eaten before this. And this is gonna be a long one too. Where's my info? Speaking of that, I don't see none of my, there we go, not the stomach growl, relevance, and then insert that scene. Oh Lord, we're gonna be stomach growling the whole video. I went for the more bright 80s look myself. Oh, do I get to bring up my red flag for a non-reality TV? Wow. I usually only get to use this for Love is Blind. Wow, I never get to use that. Okay. To the Crypt Keeper. Is it Crypt Keeper or Crypt Keeper? It's Crypt Keeper. Foreshadowing. I said it again. Things get terribly. No, that's not. Even things got that worse. Elizabeth can't, maybe except for, what was his name? Fred? Was his name Fred? Oh, his name was Fred. Now this movie is labeled a horror. It's a horror. Harlot and a whore.